Hey guys, I'm Ben Gale from Myriad Services. I'm sitting here with Graeme Lodge. We're going to have a chat around managed services. I'm the team leader of the managed service team, so we're going to invite Graeme in to have a chat.
Hi, and I'm Graeme Lodge. I'm the Managing Director of Myriad Services. So, as Ben said, we're going to give you a rundown of why we think managed services can help your business and scenarios where they may be different and you may not have thought of.
So thank you for that, Graeme. So I do have a couple of questions I guess I want to run through with you. So one of the big ones is what are some of the challenges you're seeing in the managed services space at the moment and things that clients are bringing up for you?
So there's a number of issues that are out there that are current in the market. We're talking about things like the difficulty in finding staff, finding the right staff. That's a common sort of challenge I'm hearing out there, that it's very difficult to find someone who can do all the levels of support required. You can either find someone who's a bit of a Superman at the top end of town but gets bored crazy running around resetting passwords and stuff like that, or maybe they're at the other end of the scale but they've got a really keen young person who's really going at it and running around installing printers and fixing stuff and kind of faking it till they make it when they're working on those harder issues, and that's something that a managed services can fix quite quickly and easily, because a service, rather than being a single person that fits one end of that spectrum, it just we have multiple layers that cover all those layers. So we have everything from the graduate L1 to plug things in through to those senior resources who can troubleshoot those deep issues, Microsoft qualified and trained and whatever else you may need for about the same price as a mid-tier tech to do the same sort of work. So.
How are you finding that's helping in the regional space?
So regions are an interesting one, because going back to my first point around that challenge around finding staff, there's been a bit of a drain from the regions at different times. So when financial challenges have come across, if we talk about mining regions in particular, North Queensland there's the last mining downturn, a lot of professional roles left town, a lot of big companies that could sustain higher level technical roles packed up shop and moved out, and unfortunately good people had to follow them down south. And so it's now there are good people in regional centres, and we've got a couple, and I've seen a few in other businesses, but they are hard to find, and like anything, when they're hard to find, they become more expensive as well.
So leading me to my next question, how is managed services becoming more cost effective?
So I think it's a number of things. The main one is that single fixed price. So just like you pay someone's salary every week, fortnight, month, whatever it may be, you have that fixed monthly cost, you know what it is. The managed service is the same. It allows you to budget, it helps you cash flow because you know what it is. If you go that BYD type model, where you pay as you go type model, where you might only have a couple of calls one month and then the next month you have a few issues, maybe Microsoft, something you haven't done, Microsoft have rolled out a change and we've created 30, 40 tickets in one go, and all of a sudden your bill's quadrupled from what it normally is, and now you would look at cash flow and adjust that. Well, a managed service will take those ebbs and flows and for that same fixed price. So when you have those spikes, it doesn't matter. On the other side of the coin, again, that people side of things is depending where you employ that person. So and we're talking a mid-sized business here, but it scales up to larger businesses. So if you're that sort of mid-tier, 50 odd people, and you think you're big enough to have one or two people in-house, what sort of people do you employ? Well, for the same sort of cost of one or two of those employees depending on the scale of your business at that level, we can provide a service, or managed service can fill that gap and provide all three layers. Like I said, that L1, 2 and 3, right through to even the consulting side of things. We can, in that same service, in addition to getting someone who can help fix stuff, you get someone who can come in at that enterprise level and talk about what things could be done better. What are that more strategic part of the engagement? So it's more about value for money. It's not always cheaper, but I can definitely say you get a lot more value for that same money.
Okay, so why do you think there should be a focus on spending money inside the IT space, and where managed services fits in there?
So there's no secret that IT's become pivotal to every single business. Right now it's 100% everything's moving online. The technology now in businesses for analytics and finance and all this sort of stuff is becoming more and more prevalent. People are constantly on phones and tablets and things for their work. They're using them remotely. They're using them at home. Mobile working is another one. So there's a whole heap of technology facets now that are 100% part of key business strategies. So it's not just, IT is just fixing my computer. It's IT is now essential to the entire workspace, regardless of what it is, from small dental places through to giant engineering firms. That technology is pivotal throughout the business, and we all know that if technology goes down, they pack up shop. There's not much else that's going on. So, and this is where those layers come in. So again, that service, the ability to interact and have all the resources you need. But the other facet of a managed service that often gets overlooked is the proactive nature of it. So managed service is not just about providing people to take phone calls to fix problems. That's more of a reactive process. What a managed service does to enable that is it proactively, so it goes in looking for problems, like looking at from drive space to age of hardware to common issues and how do they get eliminated, because that's what makes businesses move on. So another way to look at managed services could be as like an insurance. You're paying that money so that problems don't occur as often. You're not just paying it to fix it when they break, because that costs you money when your business is down, because your business is so dependent on that technology. We want to, as a managed service provider, have things go down much less often to ideally never, so that you don't have those loss in revenue or whatever it may be for your business.
Okay. So one of the big things with managed services, obviously you mentioned before, is obviously having a team of people being able to help. How are you finding that with inside the workplace, being able to help proactively reduce issues or reactively find things before they happen?
So the biggest thing there is IT has grown so much in the last few years. Cloud has obviously taken off. COVID has accelerated a lot of technologies. So the key point there is the IT is now so diverse that it's very difficult to find people who can know everything about everything around IT. So this is where the IT, having the managed service, can actually plug those different capabilities, those different levels of problems that are going on. So talking about trying to find, improve your business processes. So by using a managed service with a broad spread of skills, so even in that higher end skill set, that's where people tend to get more specialised. So instead of saying, I've got a really good IT guy, in a managed service provider, you can have someone who's very good at 365. You'll have someone who's very good at server infrastructure. You'll have someone. So as you're looking at these issues, you're not talking to a generalist who's going, okay, so I'm the senior L3 person, I know everything about everything, because they don't exist. It's, you might have a generalist who's very good at working out what's going on, but then, hey, this is a problem with, this particular part of the network, so we need to get a network engineer. This is a problem with the cloud side of things. I need to get a cloud engineer or another specialist involved. And a managed service provider, either through the staffing they have within the team or through the partnerships they have with the likes of Microsoft, Cisco, whatever it may be able to bring in that expertise as part of that same service without having to reach out. Or if you're an internal employee, you don't have that luxury. You can reach out, but there'll be $1 at the end of it.
So I guess how's that working with scalability?
So scalability is another really massive advantage. So you think of a growing business, maybe you're a bit of a startup, you've got some things going on, and let's say you're trying to tackle your IT internally. The most common scenario with small businesses is they give the IT capability to an IT capable person. It might be the school leaver on the front desk who seems to be the most IT capable, through to the new engineer who just happens to know how computers work. And I know one business where the IT manager grew from the fact that the server was under his desk. That's how it started. So, and then to go from there to an actual IT person, so you're actually adding a whole salary to then step up, so take that load off that person. And then you get to a next scale. So you say you're that one person internally supporting about 30 users. They're starting to get stretched. You've just added a new office. You've had another 10 people in. That extra 10 people, and that might be another geographical location, is going to cost you another, 60 grand, 70 grand for another person to come in and double that team. You tackle that scalability of the managed service, it'd be incremental. So it would be like a 15% increase in your bill versus doubling your IT labour costs. So if you're employing people, you're going up in big steps. Like every step is a big step, and your choices are either stretch your existing person to breaking point until you can justify the next person, or overspend and have someone doing not a lot until that extra capacity comes on. So a managed service is generally measured on the number of users, and if your business scales up or scales down, maybe your project business, you're putting on an extra 50 people to complete a project, you wind it down in 3 months' time. A managed service can scale up and down with that load. You don't have to bring in a green person and go, support this. I don't know your business, I don't know how it works. Well, just install printers, I don't care. It doesn't work. So that's where a managed service go. You get someone you know, they'll scale up and down with your business. And down's an important one. Like, you don't like to think of businesses shrinking, but the simple fact is, in today's environment with a lot of contracting and stuff going, there is lots of growth and shrinking. And to be able to tie that IT service to the size of your business at any point in time, it means you can guarantee the level of service to all your users without having to break the bank and potentially bring people on, make people redundant, pay overs for contractors, whatever it may be, which would be the alternative way of tackling that problem.
Awesome. So if I look at a managed service, does that mean that I give you, or the managed service takes over everything, or can they work in conjunction with other services, other providers?
Yep. The good thing about a managed service is, at least the ones that they're offered at Myriad Services, is 100% complementary to whatever you might have. We've got clients that run 100% internal IT, and we're providing things like a service desk over the top to take that level 1 load off those people, to allow those people to work in their strengths, versus the other way around, where they might have a junior IT person who's taking all the calls and fixing all those things, and then we become a phone a friend extension of that. Right through, and then we've got other providers where we might just provide backup as a service, for example. So they're quite happy with what they're doing, but we're going to provide a backup solution to guarantee that their environment's backed up, and they look after their own day-to-day stuff. Right through to, yep, we are your internal IT department, consider us part of your family, and we can do all that too. So definitely doesn't have to be all-inclusive. It's certainly not not the goal of an IT managed service to get rid of people, which seems to be a misconception that comes out a lot. I said, oh, you're just here to get rid of, reduce our staffing. It's more of an opportunity to consolidate your costs, control costs. Maybe you've got a long-term, maybe you've been doing it a different way, and that person's moving on. That's a good time to go, well, is there another way? Do I find another person like this guy who's been in our office for 20 years who knew everything, because whoever the employee is not going to know that? Or do I look at a managed service, someone who can grow with our business and won't retire and pull out, in 10 years' time? So
awesome. So one of the other questions I have, a lot of services are L1, L2, L3 support levels. Generally, all of the L1 is covered with inside your managed service, so that's your password resets, things like that. How are Myriad services handling that scenario?
So we offer multiple ways for clients to reach out and help us. So I think of support as a triangle. I mean, you've seen all those other employment triangles, management triangles, all the rest of it. But this one, you have the broad side of the triangle is your support base. That's where everyone comes in. Then you move down to your L2 and then your L3s and your vendors at the tip of the triangle. So for Myriad, we have a service desk. We run it in Australia, fully staffed locally. We don't outsource anything customer facing at all. So 100% internal. You'll always speak to someone. They'll be either sitting in South Brisbane or Mackay or one of our other offices. You can lodge tickets via email, telephone, through an agent, 101 ways you can get through. And those tickets are then prioritised, triaged and actioned accordingly. And things like your service desk, your remote stuff, 99% of problems we're finding now can be done through the remote tool sets that we manage. So all those common issues where you might have thought, oh, I'll have to have someone in the office, and especially thinking about some of these businesses now that might be opening up smaller satellite offices around the place, you don't need someone in those offices. If you have your structures right, you have a good MSP in place, you can actually provide all those basic level support remotely, and then supplement that with an occasional site visit and things like that, which again, with the geographical spread of an MSP like Myriad, we can actually deliver those on-site services as well.
Awesome. That definitely answers that question for me. So I guess the big question, why managed services?
I think the big thing about managed services and the big ticket to go for is value for money, and just that simplifying a cost to your business. And in simple terms, whatever business you're in, your business is not IT, unless you're an IT business, but we're out of that. So your business is, whether it be selling something, making something, fixing something, that's what your business is. That's where your focus should be. That's where your staff focus should be. Our business is IT. Our business is focusing on technology, what's coming out, why it is, where it is, how it's used, and all those sorts of things. So that's what we live in. So it makes sense for a company in that space to take care of your IT. Like, why, try and repurpose one of your staff to look IT, or bring an IT person in an organisation where they're not going to get the peer learning, or there's so much you learn off the people next to you, or the ability to escalate a problem up or down. You don't get that if you bring your own IT person in. You're relying on them self-learning, because they're not going to learn off their peers, because they're too busy selling, making, building, whatever they're employed to do. So that for me is the number one purpose of a managed service, is to bring expertise into your business that you could not facilitate yourself without changing your business.
Perfect. It's actually been really enlightening. Thank you for your time today, and obviously going through the hard questions that it's actually hard to find an answer for. Obviously, feel free to reach out and give us some questions if you've got any. But thank you, Graeme, for your time.
No, thanks, Ben. Been really good.